Good afternoon. My name is Ramon Martin, and on behalf of my co-authors listed here, I'll be presenting the Recover Program's 2020 CERP Interim Goals Update for the Southern Coastal Systems region. The Southern Coastal Systems encompasses a large, ecologically and economically important area along the coast of South Florida. The Southern Coastal Systems region is a contiguous network of coastal wetlands and estuaries that wraps around the southern end of the Florida Peninsula and includes Biscayne Bay, Florida Bay, and the southwest coast. Southern Coastal Systems interim goals have not been developed for Biscayne Bay and the southwest coast due to model coverage limitations in these areas. Therefore, the Southern Coastal Systems interim goals results presented today are only applicable to Florida Bay. The South Florida system is a dynamic, variable system highly dependent on rainfall and its corresponding effect on hydrology. CERP is adding a complicated sequence of projects to improve the system hydrology. Setting realistic interim goals and targets in such a system is complex, requiring the use of computer modeling. Recover uses model to separate the expected changes due to CERP projects from the normal variation caused by climate and the effects of the other non-CERP restoration actions. For the Southern Coastal Systems, two models are used to simulate hydrologic conditions: the Regional Simulation Glades LEXA and a Paleo-adjusted Natural System Model version 4.6.2. The natural system model does not model estuaries well, and a paleo-adjusted natural system model was used as a desired restoration condition for indicators in Florida Bay. The paleo-adjusted natural system model uses 1900 data to adjust output for salinity in Florida Bay, water level and hydro period in the wetlands, and flow through Shark River and Taylor Slough to the pre-management values. The time increments for interim goals and targets focused on for this report are 2026 and 2032. Recover used 4 model scenarios to update the interim goals and targets for the 2020 report to Congress. The revised existing condition baseline for interim goals and interim targets is the state of the structure and system around 2017 and includes the Everglades Restoration Transition Plan, modified water deliveries, and the C111 South Dates project, but does not include the combined operation plan with the new Tamiami Trail flow formula, nor does it include changes to the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, as these were not approved prior to the model formulation. The other models, 2026, 2032 CEP, and 2032 PACR, contain assumptions based upon the July 2018 integrated delivery schedule for what structures and operations would be completed by 2026 and 2032 respectively. Two 2032 runs, the 2032 CEP and the 2032 PACR, were included due to uncertainty regarding the authorization of the CEP Everglades Agricultural Area A2 Reservoir STA. The 2032 CEP scenario includes the shallow A1, A2 FEB as originally authorized in the CEP, whereas the 2032 PACR includes the now authorized CEP EA A2 Reservoir and STA per the CEP Post-Authorization Change Report. Model changes in the system focus on changes due to CERP projects only. It is important to emphasize that interim goals and targets only reflects anticipated changes due to CERP projects in the integrated delivery schedule for 2018. Ecological models were also used to evaluate habitat suitability for recreationally important sport fish like spotted sea trout, or to predict distribution and abundance of commercially important species like the pink shrimp. As expected, salinity is an important parameter used in all of our ecological models for the estuaries in the Southern Coastal Systems. We also utilize ecological models that predict crocodile growth rate and survival. Evaluation of the suite of CERP restoration scenarios model for recovery interim goals and targets utilize the predictive metric and targets of the Crocodile Growth and Survival Salinity Index. This index is calculated using modeled salinity estimates at 7 sites along the nearshore environment across Florida Bay's northern shore for the period of record 1965 to 2005 for the months of August to December. The Crocodile Growth and Survival Index is calculated using paleo-adjusted natural system model salinity for the period of record. The Florida Bay Seagrass Ecosystem Assessment and Community Organization Model was developed to evaluate the impacts of freshwater management, nutrient management, climate, and climate change in the Everglades watershed and in downstream seagrass systems in Florida Bay. The goal of the seagrass modeling effort was to simulate the effects of salinity and biochemical conditions on the growth and survivorship of 3 aquatic macrophytes, 2 halophytes, Talasia and Haloduli, and the fresh to Mesohalian rupia, a beneficial plant that could expand distribution in response to additional freshwater introduction into the system. The CCOM model was run using salinity inputs generated by passing stage output from the regional simulation model for each restoration scenario through statistical regression models that translate the stages to salinity at specific locations within Florida Bay. Two contrasting basins were examined: Little Madeira Bay, an estuarine nearshore basin at the mouth of Taylor River, and Whitbread Basin, a more marine basin in central Florida Bay. Little Madeira Bay is represented by the Taylor River site and expected to be the most impacted by increased freshwater flows in Taylor Slough. Whitbread Basin has been the site of hypersalinity events and seagrass die-offs and is in need of additional freshwater flows. The 2020 Recover Interim Goals and Targets report outlined 5 indicators to be used to assess interim goals in the Southern Coastal Systems region. For this presentation, I will only be providing results for salinity, being that it is the master variable that strongly influences the ecological character of estuaries and the Southern Coastal System indicators listed here. Florida Bay salinities and thus the bay's ecology have been impacted by the historic diversion of water from the Everglades watershed on which Florida Bay depends. This has resulted in increased bay salinity, including the widespread and prolonged occurrence of hypersalinity. CERP success for Florida Bay restoration will be primarily driven by the extent to which current freshwater flow to the bay is improved with increased flow quantities and more natural timing and distribution, yielding more natural salinity patterns. We evaluate the likely effects of interim goal scenarios of CERP implementation on Florida Bay salinity from 2 lines of evidence: estimates of bay salinity and estimates of freshwater flow towards Florida Bay. Both salinity and flow estimates were derived from the regional system modeling of the scenarios. Bay-wide salinity was estimated from the regional system model estimates of Everglades wetland water stage, derived from multiple regression models developed by Marshall et al. 2011. These models describe the relationship of daily salinity measured in Florida Bay as a function of daily water stage at sites in the Southern Everglades from the regional simulation model. Quantities of freshwater flow across southeast Everglades transects toward northeast were calculated directly by the regional system model. For each interim goal scenario, daily salinity was estimated for each of the 17 Florida Bay sites located in 6 bay zones with similar salinity patterns depicted herein as Northeast Coast, East, East Central, Central, South, and West. The performance measure included 3 metrics to quantify attributes of the Florida Bay wet season and dry season salinity regime over the 36-year period of interim goals model scenarios. All metrics compare scenarios estimated salinity at a bay site to a salinity target for a site. The target is derived from site-specific salinity before canal drainage as estimated from the natural system model with paleo adjustment. The mean salinity offset metric shown here calculates the magnitude of difference between the scenario's mean salinity versus that of the target natural system model derived mean salinity. Results showed decreasing mean salinity values in all 6 of Florida Bay's spatial zones, with incremental progress for each step from the current condition as reflected in interim goals existing condition to model scenario 2026 to 2032 step to 2032 Packer. However, the magnitude of improvement for each of these steps is estimated to be small, ranging from 0.2 PSU salinity units to 1.6 PSU among the sites in both wet and dry seasons. The high salinity metric calculates the extent to which a scenario's frequency of harmful high salinity exceeds the frequency of such salinity estimated from the natural systems model. This metric shows a pattern of it modestly improving wet season scores with successive scenarios and had poorer dry season scores than wet season scores. While these scores showed incremental improvement with CERP implementation scenarios, the frequency of very high salinity remained high, especially in the dry season. The results from the salinity performance measure metrics provide projections of only modest improvements with CERP implementation to the 2032 Packer. As a check on this inference, patterns of how the scenarios differentially change quantities of freshwater flow toward northeastern Florida Bay via Taylor Slough and southeastern Everglades were examined. Modeled freshwater flow across the southeast Everglades transect T23 shows increasing flow toward eastern Florida Bay with an interim goals incremental steps to CERP implementation. But as indicated by salinity evaluation, this increase is modest. The greatest increase in annual flow is an 11% increase with the 2032 Packer scenario over the EC-IGIT. It is promising that dry season flow is 50% higher with 2032 Packer scenario than the EC-IGIT, but the total dry season increase quantity of only 28,000 acre-feet is insufficient to strongly influence bay-wide salinity. This interim goals modeling incremental exercise demonstrates the importance of CERP and that significant incremental progress can be made. For 2026 increment, the minimal improvements to southern coastal systems demonstrates the importance of implementing projects that increase volume of water delivered south. The 2032 increment demonstrates the impacts of projects which incorporate new water and increase flow south. We only observed minimal improvements in the southern coastal systems. Therefore, full implementation of CERP is needed to increase freshwater flows into southern coastal systems. Overall, ecological indicators did not improve substantially in this region, as there was only a modest increase in freshwater flows. Importantly, this exercise solidified the importance of full implementation of CERP to increase freshwater flows into the region, especially during the dry season. Hydrologic and ecologic needs of southern coastal systems are still not fully achieved by 2032. Lake Okeechobee management and the combined operation plan will play key roles in achieving CERP goals for ecosystem restoration to gain benefits for the southern coastal systems in the dry season. We must continue to monitor the system and use adaptive management to respond to changing real-world conditions. So things that we're kind of working on in the future for the southern coastal system is to develop performance measures for Biscayne Bay and the southwest coast. There's also legal constraints that we need to address in regards to water quality, flood risk, and savings costs or other agreed upon targets. The natural systems model for version 4.6.2 also needs to be updated. The natural system model with palette adjustment is used for salinity targets in Florida Bay, but is not available for all subregions. We also need to develop salinity models for Biscayne Bay, such as the Biscayne Bay salinity model and the southwest coast. Additionally, we need to go ahead and incorporate climate change and sea level rise into our modeling and performance metrics. This concludes my presentation on the Southern Coastal Systems Interim Goals Update. If you'd like more information, you can download the Interim Goals and Interim Targets report at the site here provided.